I'm Michelle Kelly, and I'm the head of Los Angeles Rabbit Foundation and here in Los Angeles, California. We focus on education, spay and neuter of domestic rabbits, working with animal shelters, and rehabilitating rabbits and finding them homes. We're a fairly small group. We started out really based, again, with mostly shelter volunteers, and now we're mostly foster based. And so we typically have 50 foster volunteers at any given time, plus we have an additional 62. Well, yeah, it's grown by a little more than that. Volunteers, they come and go, but well, oddly enough, I have a similar story to many people. One of my ex-boyfriends got me a rabbit as a gift, which you don't ever want to do. And that rabbit was from a pet store, which you also don't want to do. And he was a special needs bunny. But I like to think of myself as someone who researches things and tries to become educated if I'm not. And so I immediately went to my local library and read up on rabbits and found out that rabbits need to be neutered, that they need another friend if they'll get along with another rabbit, and that they live better indoors than outdoors. And so I started making changes in my life. I got the bunny out of the cage into a free roam situation, and then I went to my local animal shelter to get the bunny a friend because I found out that animal shelters have rabbits. In fact, rabbits are the third most commonly relinquished animal in shelters in the United States after dogs and cats. And so I said, well, I want to, save one of those rabbits. I don't want a healthy rabbit to be put to sleep. Rabbits are enchanting creatures. They're kind of a cross between having a little deer and a cat or something domestic, because on the one hand they're domestic animals, but on the other hand they retain some of the instincts of their wild ancestors. So it's a little bit like having a pet woodland creature in your home. I saw a need that wasn't being filled, and I started helping out the rabbits there. And I noticed that a lot of them were being put to sleep because they didn't have the space. And so I worked on creating a separate space for the rabbits. And then I worked with the staff, and we agreed that if there was space and that if I bought equipment, if I bought some big cages, tried to get the cages bigger, because we're in Los Angeles, real estate is expensive, and so the bunnies in the animal shelter were not going to have pens. They were not going to each have their own room. They were going to be in cages. And so it's all about doing damage control, frankly. It's all about making a bad situation better. And so we improved conditions, and we got to 100% placement of those rabbits. And then I started sharing this information, and we increased adoption rates in other shelters. But then I realized how many rabbits are being dumped outside of the shelters, in neighborhoods, and in parks where, they're basically just feeding wildlife because they're pet rabbits. They don't know how to survive outside. And it isn't legal to dump rabbits outside. And so then I started working on rounding up some of those rabbits and getting them neutered and finding them homes. And then to do that, I created a foster network. And so all of this just grew from my one little bunny and finding my one little bunny a friend. And it grew into this whole little enterprise.
So what is a problem that rabbits face around Easter time?
Every year, thousands of people get rabbits for Easter for their kids as sort of like a toy for Easter. And unfortunately, they get baby bunnies that don't survive. And those poor little rabbits suffer because people haven't done research on how to take care of them before they get the rabbit. They need to know that rabbits are not ideal pets for small children. They need to know that rabbits are not low maintenance, that vet care is expensive. And then always rescue a rabbit. Get a rabbit that needs a home. There's so many rabbits that need homes. But don't ever get a rabbit or any other animal on impulse. Rabbits, chicks, ducks, they all suffer around Easter time because people are not thinking about the animal and they're not thinking about what they're getting into.
Audio Jungle.
Some of the hay here for the distribution to our foster homes.
Audio Jungle.
Are rabbits the best pet for you? Do you want an animal that's going to guaranteed snuggle with you and lick you and sleep with you? Maybe you want a dog or a cat instead.
Audio Jungle.
So what's the most you've ever had in your house at once?
I don't want to talk about this. we have to take in the 2019 rabbits.
Yeah.
So we had a lot. I have a little group of 3 here that they just, you can't probably see them, but they just snuggle all day long and kiss each other and keep each other groomed. There are a few things involved with white bunnies with pink eyes. And the one thing is that a lot of the laboratories and of course the cosmetic companies, they use them for testing. And the reason for that is that they can see the eye. The eyes are more sensitive than other rabbits' eyes. And so they do cosmetic testing on their eyes, which is just awful. And also, the volunteers are nervous about like going out and catching stray rabbits, for example. It's very hard to get volunteers to do that because they're worried about this rabbit hemorrhagic disease and bringing it home.